I'm a filmmaker, I'm a journalist, and in my spare time, I canvass for Zohran Mamdani's mayoral campaign. Affordability in New York City is getting out of control. The rent is too damn high. Jobs are becoming extraordinarily difficult to find. All right, the cost of red bell pepper is $9.99 a pound.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Bernie, AOC, and now Mamdani have lit fires in the hearts of millions of Americans. I think the real failure for the Democrats will be not trying.
But the election's right around the corner. Why should I, as an uninformed voter, care about Mamdani?
And so what Zohran Mamdani is saying is...
What's up, guys? Yasir here. Today we have a very special guest, Joshua Kaitain Lucas. He's going to give us some insights about Mamdani's campaign and why he thinks you should vote for him this election cycle. Welcome to the channel, Josh.
Thank you, Yasir. I love being here. It's so fun.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I just want to jump right in here.
Yeah.
In your own words, tell me about yourself.
My name is Joshua Kaitain Lucas. I am a filmmaker. I'm a journalist. I make advocacy videos, and in my spare time, I canvass for Zohran Mamdani's mayoral campaign here in New York City.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know anything about local politics. But the election's right around the corner. And you actually are like canvassing for one particular candidate.
Yeah.
Why are you canvassing for this particular candidate? Why should I, as an uninformed voter, care about Mamdani, his campaign, his promises to New York? What are his promises to New York, and how will they affect me as a normal middle-class New York resident?
Affordability in New York City is getting out of control. People are having difficulty affording their apartments. The rent is too damn high. And truly, that's a huge concern for New Yorkers. It's the biggest concern for New Yorkers, that along with food prices, along with crumbling infrastructure, and just getting around to the city. So I think that, broadly speaking, when you zoom in on people, on everyday New Yorkers who are trying to get around this city, go to work, come home, live a life with dignity, in a home that they value and that they respect, in which they raise families, that is becoming more and more out of reach for so many people. As prices go up, as real estate prices around the city
Skyrocketing.
The everyday person who goes and cleans out the buildings, or who works at the coffee shop, or who's an artist, people who work in media, jobs are becoming extraordinarily difficult to find. And with that, when you add in increased prices across the board, where are the people who we really see as New Yorkers? Where are they going? Where are they finding themselves? What options do they have? And so what Zohran Mamdani is saying is, we want to build a government in New York City that also works for you. Because we value New Yorkers. We believe that New Yorkers are not just the people with money. New Yorkers aren't just the tech people and the finance people. New Yorkers are all of us.
Right.
The artists, the custodians, the teachers. I mean, people across the board who are just finding it more and more despairing to get through their day-to-day because they're having a harder and harder time making ends meet. And so what Zohran Mamdani is saying is, let's make rents more affordable. Let's make food more affordable and ensure that you are able to live a life with dignity and can raise a family if you choose.
Right. I'm all about affordability.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
You're a very frugal guy.
I don't like spending money. So I'm trying to save every penny. And things are getting expensive. I could admit that. One of the things that you said is that New York City is for everybody, not just these people. What is it that really resonated with you that got you off your sofa? Because I also am like, the Trader Joe's is getting expensive,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
I'm still like just playing FIFA all day.
I could tell you the very first thing, my very first interaction with Zohran Mamdani.
So you met him?
I met him on a handful of occasions, not like in a very personal way. He came out to one of the canvassing events that I did, and so I was able just to basically shake his hand. And I saw him on another event where he was doing a rally.
Okay.
And I just saw him, and I went up to him, and I had heard about him, and I was very excited about the prospect of having someone who has a platform for all New Yorkers, and not just a platform that is kowtowing to special interests. And I went up to shake his hand and say, "It's very good to meet you." And he looked at me and smiled, and I felt like he saw me. And politicians are really good at shaking your hand and smiling and looking at you and making you feel seen. But when you are seen by a person, you feel seen by that person. Am I wrong? Like,
right.
There's that.
But you've connected with them.
You've connected. And that's how I felt immediately. I was like, oh, this is a real human being. And I can tell that he doesn't know me from Adam, but he cared that I existed.
Right.
Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But that's what I believe.
Right.
That was the feeling that I got. And that was just the first impression. As everyone says, first impressions are everything, right? And when I learned more about what he really cared for and what he stood for, it was beyond just making sure New York City is affordable. It's also about the future of New York City.
Right.
Making sure New York City is affordable now is important now to people's lives and people's livelihoods, but what the implications for the future of New York City are profound. If we start to kick out the everyday New Yorkers that make this city what it is because it's too expensive, what's the New York City that we have in 30 years from now?
Right.
And so that's how I kept seeing what he was talking about when he was on the campaign trail during his primary. It was more than just about making sure New York City is affordable. It was also about having a hopeful, positive, constructive vision, new vision for how New York can be run, how New York can support New Yorkers.
Right. And what are the biggest three things that are like Mamdani's promising? You said affordability, number one.
Yeah, freeze the rent. Freeze the rent is a big one. Freeze the rent is a huge one. I really love the idea of sort of public grocery stores.
Okay, I have heard of that idea.
Yeah, it's not new. It's not necessarily novel, but if there was like a sort of project that was able to expand around New York City that ensured that, and I know this is kind of like this is one of the things that people come after him for, but if New York City can say, here are our grocery stores, we're going to leave the door open for Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and our locally privately owned grocery stores. That's great. But what is important is that if the price of an avocado goes to $10 a piece, or in my grocery store, in my neighborhood in Flatbush, so we're not talking about Williamsburg. We're not talking about the Upper East Side. We're talking about Flatbush. All right, the cost of red bell peppers, is $9.99 a pound.
Whoa, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money. I mean, and that for a red bell, I mean, we're talking about an essential core food item that should be as easy to come by as anything else. I mean, prices are extraordinarily out of control. So if we understand that businesses have to make a profit, things that are there for the public good don't necessarily have to make a profit. They can just serve a public good.
Okay, first of all, I understand what you're saying. I get it. I want to chat about those three topics because you brought up the affordability is an issue, 100%. I definitely think that housing is an issue. Yeah. There's a massive housing shortage, not just here in New York, but across the country. Yeah. Inflation and affordability in grocery stores, not just in New York, across the country. Yeah. Right? Grocery stores operate on razor thin margins today. Yeah. I mean, they're like tiny, right? Like I think
I don't really know.
They are. That's a fact, right? Like if you think about the most profitable item in a grocery store is generally like the bananas. I think they have like the highest gross margin, which is like 11% or something like that. Okay. So like everything after that is like unprofitable, barely profitable as an organization. I don't understand how someone's going to come in and say that I'm going to open a city-ran grocery store and lower prices. How are you going to lower the prices across the board for lower margin items?
Yeah, well, listen, people have to buy food because people have to eat. And the cheapest option that we have is to go to our grocery stores and buy our food. We're not talking about going out to restaurants and going out to the deli and getting food that way. That's obviously way more expensive. If you are a privately run grocery store, you have to stay in business.
Right.
If you are run publicly, then that can be subsidized by taxes. And so we're not talking about maximizing profits as much as we can on these publicly run grocery stores. What we're talking about is making sure that people can afford their food.
Right.
And if that requires funding via taxes, then that's what it would require. And I think that's what Zohran Mamdani is proposing.
And I understand that he wants to fix, the housing affordability issue, but has rent protection or, fixing the rent actually worked in any other city in the world? Well, if you look at places like Norway, people move in, I think they have some kind of like rent protection, fixed rent kind of situation over there. There's like a massive housing crisis there as well. So like I don't understand what's the solution? The solution is always build more housing, right?
Well, that's very complicated. Obviously we need more housing. But there are vast amounts of vacant housing and housing opportunities in New York City, but that's not what we're really talking about. What Zohran Mamdani is talking about is freezing the rent. And again, just like with grocery stores, the reality is people need places to live. The counter argument is always like, well, if you can't afford to live in New York City, then move out of New York City. And as housing prices skyrocket because real estate costs skyrocket,
100%,
then our choice is to abandon New York or to try something different. Rent control, rent stability is nothing new. I mean, in New York City, there are a lot of people who make well more than they should, paying $300 for apartments in the financial district, who are like making 6-7-figure salaries. So I'm not saying take them out of their homes, but they're like, people have access to affordable housing in this city. Not everyone does. The privileged do. Sometimes the people who need it most have access to these things. But when we talk about, so there's a brand new building that just opened up right next to my building in Flatbush. It's vacant right now, but they're trying to occupy it. I think that the affordable units are something like $3,200 for starting for affordable units.
For an affordable unit?
In Flatbush.
Is that like a studio or?
For a 1-bedroom, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not affordable.
Depends on who you ask. It depends on if you're talking to real estate developers, if you're talking to people who own these places, they're calling it affordable. I mean, does it legally qualify as an affordable unit if you hit certain thresholds, certain benchmarks? Probably. Right. So, yes, I agree. The housing crisis in New York City and around this country need to be resolved. But in the meantime, we can't broadly evict people from their homes because they can't afford a city that has gone outrageously more expensive than anyone could have predicted or expected or can maintain. I mean, salaries are not even keeping up with inflation.
Right.
Not to mention the how many times greater the average housing cost is now than it was a decade ago. It's just, like I said before, we either need to say that New York City is also for you, or get out, go somewhere else. Right. We don't need you.
Right.
Or I don't care how you commute, get here and do the job that I need you to do. And it's a matter of how we want to talk about and treat people who are in that situation.
Right.
Who can't say, well, I'll take the hit. I'll spend $3,200 a month. Who don't have it as an option.
I mean, New York City is originally a city for everyone, right? It was like, give me your tired, give me your poor.
Yeah.
And now it's like...
I mean, it's always been expensive. It's always been stratified along economic lines. It's nothing new. I mean, that's the nature of the system that we live in. It's
right.
It's actually the nature of the system that has given us the prosperity that we have. The question is, how much suffering and indignity do we want to lay at the feet of people who have less money?
Right.
Who are working extremely hard to provide for themselves and their families, who might not own property or own appreciating assets and all of these things because, you need to have extra money to invest in the stock market or to buy crypto or whatever. And do we want to say that like New York City is only for the people who already have and can get more? Or do we want to say it's for the people of New York? I recognize that like we owe a great deal to the entrepreneurs and the titans of industry of the city and of this country, of the world. I mean, some of the biggest companies on the planet are headquartered here. I understand the importance of that. But also, New York City is what New York City is because of its cultural relevance, because of its artistic contributions, because of the tenacity and the spirit of New Yorkers.
Right.
From no matter, one of my best friends is a dude born and raised in Queens who fights every day to live a life that he finds meaningful and can provide him with a life that he can one day support a family on. That is becoming more and more out of reach. And if we let go of people like my friend, if we let them leave the city, then we are losing what the city really is.
Right.
And so what Zohran Mamdani is doing is saying, no. This is what New York City is, all of us. Let's make it work for all of us and let's figure that out. Let's take a beat and figure it out. And I think that that's what his office and City Hall will be dedicated towards, is ensuring that New York City remains a city for all of us.
For every New Yorker.
Yeah, that's what I really believe. And I understand it might be a little bit difficult on the people who do provide a lot of jobs, who do pay a lot in taxes. They might find it a little odious, unpleasant to them to have to pay more in taxes. But I believe that's the cost of living in the greatest city in the world.
And I understand, right? Love me some Bernie. Love me some AOC.
He's cut from the same cloth.
He's cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Here's my fear with Mamdani. What he will do to the Democratic Party in New York City, across the country, if he fails. Like, what if he gets nothing done? What if he gets none of these things done? And here's my fear, because I look at Bernie Sanders and AOC, and they have lit a fire in the hearts and minds of the youth. millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, we believe in a system of healthcare for everyone. We believe in education for everyone.
A system that works for everybody.
A system that works for everybody.
Yeah.
But there's a whole coalition of people on the other side of the aisle that just don't want what they want, right? With one man as the mayor of New York City, with that agenda, without having the hearts and minds of the local legislative branch, like, how's he gonna get anything done? My biggest fear is, like, if he fails, he will be the domino that doesn't knock down all the dominoes, and no one will vote for a democratic socialist again.
First of all, I don't think that it's true that no one would be supportive of a democratic socialist in the future. I don't like him because of democratic socialists. What I like about Zohran Mamdani is that, like I said earlier, he wants to build a city that works for everyone, especially, and particularly, I would say, the typically less affluent, but also that he comes to politics from a place of respect, from a place of listening, from a place of caring, from a place of intelligence, of empathy, from a place that tries to see in an entire city the completeness of the individual.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but I don't believe that he's taking any individual in the city for granted. And what he wants to do is use his mind and his passion to try something different here.
Right.
And of course, whenever you can't just reform a government. I don't believe it can work that way. I mean,
you can't just sign executive orders and get what you want.
I was just going to say. I mean, we see what's happening at the executive level at the federal level. What it takes to just unilaterally make the decisions that you want to make is extremely difficult. We see Donald Trump facing all types of lawsuits, protests, tons of stuff. But that's not what Zohran Mamdani is saying. Zohran Mamdani isn't saying, I want to sweep in here and enact these changes. He wants to use the power of the mayor's office to make incremental change that can make broad change over time.
Right.
And
lay the foundation.
I think he wants to do a little bit more than lay the foundation. I think he wants to start laying bricks.
Ooh, okay.
But you're right. I mean, there's going to be a tremendous amount of opposition at the state level, at the city level, at the federal level. Obviously, we already hear Donald Trump saying if New York City elects Zohran Mamdani, that they're going to withhold federal funds for a number of reasons. And so even if he does win and he's got the city government behind him, he's got state government behind him. He's already at a loss. A, because the big beautiful bill is getting ready to cut tons of funding for stuff that New York City relies on, so that billionaires can save money on their taxes. I think the real failure for the Democrats will be not trying. As you said, Bernie, AOC, and now Mamdani have lit fires in the hearts of millions of Americans who believe that this country has the potential to be great, and not just great for some people.
Right.
I mean, white Christian Americans make up how much of our population? I don't know. But that to me is Donald Trump's target audience.
Right.
What Zohran Mamdani is saying is that there's more than just white Christian Americans in this country. There's
100%.
a lot more. And everyone has a place here. And so let's use New York City to show the greatest city, I believe, in the planet, my favorite city on the planet, to show that the American principles of truth and justice for all are a reality.
Right.
The only fear that Democrats should be having is that we don't go for broke and we say, listen, if they're going for broke, if the other side is going for broke with Project 2025, with troops on the streets, with withholding funds, with terrorists, with all of the plethora of things at this federal administration's disposal, then we need to go for broke to do what's right for all.
Right.
That's what I believe. And if we don't try, the failure will then be with the Democratic Party.
You have so much energy and passion.
I believe, man. I believe because I believe in this country. I signed up on the dotted line just like you did because I have faith in who we say we are.
Right.
Growing up, who we said we were. That didn't matter. Didn't matter what color you were or what nationality you were or what gender you were or who you loved even. But now we're starting to draw lines. Mm-hmm. The Trump administration is drawing lines. Who matters and who doesn't? Who gets and who does not get?
Right.
We're seeing the wealthiest be the getters and the losers being everyone else. And that's not okay. America is for everybody. It was constructed to be that way. We the people, right? We the people.
Right.
It's the first line of our primary legal document. It's a legal document. It's not just prose. It's legal. We the people. To form a more perfect union. We need to continue to try to improve the political environment, the financial environment, the economic well-being of all of us. Otherwise, we're letting down the very principles that this nation, I believe, were founded on. Whether or not they were founded by white Christians, white Christian men, I don't think that that's relevant. I think it's relevant that there were great people who created a great country. But the reason why they created a great country is because they didn't create a great country for themselves only. They created a great country as a principle, as a beacon for the entire world. Here's who we are. We are from everywhere, and we have shortcomings, but our founding legal document dictates that we can do something about that. And when we see injustice that is being codified into law around the country, such as slavery, such as issues of voting rights, the Civil Rights Act, all these things, we can do something to address it, and we should. It is our duty, according to the Constitution of the United States, to do something to create a more perfect union.
But you're really passionate. I can tell that you care about the people of New York. I can tell that you care about every American. Have you ever considered holding office?
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be a great privilege to come from a place of principle, come from a place of patriotism, come from a place of, I think it's a little gauche to say selflessness, but the advocacy work that I do, the journalism work that I do, the filmmaking work that I do, the way I make the decisions in my life that I make, all typically bend towards elevating others.
Right, you're in service of openness and telling the stories that people need to hear.
I mean, it wasn't service a primary, if not the main reason for why you enlisted in the Marines? Isn't that part of it? To be able to, I mean, we when you and I joined, we had just entered our second war of the 21st century in Iraq. And what we decided to say was, we believe that this country is worth protecting, and we believe that the people in this country deserve protection, and I'm an able-bodied person, and I want to do what I can to fight for the people of this country. I have that same feeling towards the potential of holding office. I have no idea what I would do in terms of what office would even have me. But if service calls, I would answer.
Josh, I appreciate you having this conversation with me. But the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because of an article that was written about you in the Washington Free Beacon. I'll link it below, where they had some choice words about you and your experience. What did that article say about you?
Well, what the article said was, I am an Al Jazeera trained editor who has been, featured in campaign promotional materials by the Mamdani campaign, and it may be in some way a violation of WPIX, the local television news station in which I worked, might be in their parent companies against their policy.
Okay. Their
corporate policy. It said things like, it linked to a podcast I did where I had said certain things about the Trump administration, and I had posted on Instagram some don't rank Cuomo stuff during the primaries, and so really what it was an article that was. It was a hit piece, right. If I'm being completely honest. It was basically saying this person should not work at Pix 11. It is a sign that they are biased towards Zoran Mamdani, or that's the suggestion, and yada, yada, yada. They're not biased towards Zoran Mamdani. I think Pix 11 does a pretty good job of trying to cover all sides pretty equally in terms of the mayoral race. I am well within my legal right to support any candidate I choose.
Of course.
I have the legal right to canvass for whoever I choose in my free time. We're not talking about on the clock here. Right. I'm not showing up to a news story to an Eric Adams presser with a Zoran for mayor shirt. Right. I did my job, and I stand by the work that I do as a journalist.
And when they say Al Jazeera linked, what does that mean?
So I went to Columbia Journalism School, and after after graduation, I was awarded a fellowship, the Columbia Journalism Fellowship in Doha, Qatar, at Al Jazeera English, which to this day is an upstanding, excellent journalistic outlet, television news outlet. They do world-class global journalism.
But Al Jazeera is actually quite famous for being one of the most unbiased and factually accurate news agencies, right?
I mean, that's their reputation. It's state run, so it's by the nation of Qatar. So there is that complication. Just like BBC, for instance, is state run by basically. I mean, it's co-run by public and private interests, as far as I understand, the BBC. NPR, same thing. Qatar is, I think, fully funding Al Jazeera. But what I did for 3 months there was I learned I worked a news desk, I wrote copy, I worked in their VR, their really amazing cutting edge VR news telling division. And I just kind of learned the news business from Al Jazeera's perspective.
Right.
It was an incredible opportunity that I have no regrets. I lived in Qatar for 3 months.
Yeah,
I lived in
that's
the Middle East
amazing.
for 3 months. It was amazing. It was really a wonderful experience. But I think that this outlet chose to say that and put that in the headline because it has a connotation.
Right.
And I believe that the connotation is largely racist.
Yeah.
And outdated. I mean, Al Jazeera is an outstanding news outlet.
Right.
The people that I worked with were of extraordinary journalistic quality and ethics and principles. I mean, these are really upstanding people. And but what the article did not mention, it chose to present my standing in a negative slant, but it chose not to mention that I served in the Marines. It chose not to mention that I've worked on, Academy Award-winning films, Emmy-winning projects. I mean, I have well more of a career than just being Al Jazeera trained. By the way, I don't consider myself to be Al Jazeera trained. I had a lot of excellent experiences, and I learned a lot at Al Jazeera, but it was a fellowship. I was trained by the work that I did on the ground and by my education at Columbia Journalism School and at film school, Columbia Film School prior to that. And I also think that a primary reason for the publication of that news piece was to attack Zohran Mamdani. He's very popular in New York City, and he's popular for a number of reasons. And I believe that some outlets, particularly right-wing outlets, because Zohran's obviously quite left, right-wing outlets will do whatever they can to diminish his impact and try to attack his candidacy.
What incentive could a non-New York press office have with trying to smear you in relation to the Mamdani campaign?
I don't think that it was about me. I think it was about trying to diminish Zohran Mamdani's influence, not just citywide, because I think he's doing very well, and I think he's probably going to be the next mayor of our city, but to diminish his national profile. He's being attacked left and right as being a communist, as being anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic, and a number of things which are just not true.
Right.
All it takes is 2 seconds of looking at someone else's news coverage, not your own, if that is what your news coverage is saying about the man, to see that no, there's more, more to him than just than these really ugly accusations. And, I think it's just an extension of that, honestly.
And it's like they're almost future-proofing their right-wing policies, right? Like like you said, like if Mamdani has the likability at like running for mayor right now. I know in New York City he's like incredibly popular with the young vote.
With a lot of people, not just
with
the
a
young
lot
vote,
of people.
yes.
With a lot of people. Well, that translates into the state and federal level. And a lot of these right-wing organizations can't have someone of that level of popularity rising in the ranks to potentially run for a larger office with more influence down the line to implement those policies that they don't want.
Well, listen, if you're a candidate running on higher taxes for wealthier people and you are a wealthy person, or you are a publication that maybe is supportive of wealthier people, or tax cuts or deregulation and all these things, then you have some skin in the game about not wanting this person to raise your taxes.
Right, of course.
So I understand that. There's a fear that's associated with that. There's a fear of one's own well-being, whether that be their own financial well-being or what have you. And so that is a human, that is an animalistic reaction, a threat, right? And so you probably are going to want to do whatever you can to diminish that threat, that perceived threat, I should say. And listen, I think people are afraid of socialism because they are afraid of communism because we, especially in the 20th century in the United States, have been conditioned to be so. The Soviet Union, Communist China, all these places that have been anathema to America at its core, about freedom and prosperity, and we're such an enterprising people that like taking the desire to make the next great American corporation and saying, but we're going to take half your money or whatever it is, right? It's scary. It's destabilizing to what we think we know about who we are and what our country is.
Right.
But the reality, I believe, is that Mamdani's approach to taxes are ancillary to his goals and vision for a future New York City and a future America. And I think the key for Mamdani will be keeping prosperity alive and well, and enabling the well-being and livelihood of America for the future of Americans that's being increasingly taken from people.
That's powerful stuff.
I hope so. I hope I didn't just ramble too much.
No, it was fantastic. I think we're at time.
Okay.
So I'd like to thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It was really fun. I really like talking to you.
Yeah, no, this was great. I definitely want to bring you back on because we have not even delved into the work that you do with advocacy. We haven't even talked about your time as a journalist at Pix 11. I want to learn all about your career. I love talking about personal finances, so that's what we do here. But before I let you go, my question to you is, give me a book recommendation.
Okay, great question. I want to tell you what I'm reading right now, which I would recommend. It's called The Once and Future King.
The Once and Future King.
It was written in like the 1950s. And it is a telling in the aftermath of like the Lord of the Rings and the publication of like the Lord of the Rings and popularity of that. It's a telling of King Arthur and his legend. It starts with it's basically a collection of 4 books. The first is The Sword and the Stone, and I think when the Disney animated film Sword and the Stone that came out 60s, I think that takes a lot from this work. And it's really fun and really lighthearted. And then as the book progresses, it gets a little bit more serious. We start talking about warfare and the nature of being a leader and seeing unjust wars and who is hurt by wars. It's typically not the wealthy. Even the knights are they have the armor out the wazoo. They might break their arm by falling off a horse.
Right.
Meanwhile, the vast majority of the people who are serving in these battles are getting their heads chopped off.
Yeah.
Maimed, not coming home, suffering. So we get into that a little bit.
Oh my God.
and then where I am now in the book is about Lancelot.
Okay.
And it's called the Ill-Made Knight, and Lancelot is he refers to himself as an ill-made knight. It's outstanding. I can't wait to see where it goes.
It sounds like an allegory for everything we just talked about, actually.
I feel like I'm drawing. I was called to it. I've been called. I remember hearing about it a long time ago, and I've been called to it. And I've always been kind of like a little bit interested or intrigued by the Arthurian legend. And it's not disappointing. It's an excellent book.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Kaitain Lucas.
Subscribe.